Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. I'm glad I could have you guys here today. My dad, Stephen Harvey, will not be here for today's episode of the Harvey Hour. It will just be me for today's show. But don't worry, we got a big episode planned for you all today. So let's jump right into it with our first topic. We're talking about, Friday's game. I made a mistake early on saying that the Game 7 would be Sunday. It made sense to be on Sunday, but Game 7 is tonight, which I will talk about later on in the show. However, the Nuggets, once again, absolutely dismantled the Heat. They beat them by 13 points, 108-95. The crazy part about this game was it wasn't because of Nikola Jokic or really even Jamal Murray. They didn't have a great game. Jamal Murray had a bad game, 15 points. He did have 12 assists, which is probably the only positive aspect to his game. And Nikola Jokic, while he did get a double-double, was in foul trouble and was basically ineffective for most of the game. It was up to two guys. One guy who actually played out of his particular role with the team, and one guy coming off the bench, putting in effective, efficient, crucial minutes. The first guy is Aaron Gordon, primarily a great defender. Now he became a great scorer, 11 of 15 with also 7 rebounds and 6 assists. The next guy is Bruce Brown off the bench. He played almost 30 minutes, had 21 points, had 4 rebounds and 2 assists. He was also 3 of 5 from 3, and Aaron Gordon was 3 of 4 from 3. I think it's safe to say the Heat, they're done. I think it's official. The Heat have no chance at winning this series. I don't even think they have a chance of winning tonight's game, which I'll talk about later, like I said. This was this was a little bit shocking. I picked the Nuggets to win in 6. I expected the Heat to play at least a little bit better based on what we've seen throughout the past couple series. However, I will say this, and I've been talking about this for a long time on this show. Where is this guy, Jimmy Butler? Where is this great basketball player, the guy who really shows up in the playoffs, the guy that dominates in the playoffs? And according to one article writer, I believe, said he was a set-in-stone Hall of Famer, and he's the most underrated player in our time, in right now in the NBA, the most underrated player. Well, where has he been? I brought up some numbers, and the drastic drop-off of where Jimmy Butler was to now is pretty shocking. So here are the numbers. Here are Jimmy Butler's averages, the main 3 stat lines, and then there's also shooting percentage. This is where Jimmy Butler has been throughout the first couple series. So the first series against Milwaukee, where he had those 2 virtuoso games. He had like a 56-point game, and then he followed it up in Game 5 with like a 45-point game or something like that, which was absolutely crazy. And that's where this Himmy Butler and Michael Jordan's son, quote-unquote, came to be. Well, he averaged nearly 38 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and he shot nearly 60% from the floor. Tremendous things. Like, that is a superstar number. That is a superstar, like, top 3 in the NBA stat line. Well, what about the next series? We had a pretty big drop-off. 24.6 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 43% shooting from the floor. Okay, well, the Knicks just ended up actually outplaying the number 1 defense in the NBA, which was the Cleveland Cavaliers during the regular season. Did the Knicks just play better defense than what we expected? I'm not too sure, because Jimmy Butler, honestly, he nearly had a 19-point triple-double, was ineffective. I don't think it really was Jimmy Butler who was taking over this game. Well, how about this? You know, the Celtics were heavy favorites against the Heat. Well, what about that series, right? Jimmy Butler, they were up 3-0, ended up losing in 7, dominating performance in Game 7, I might add, and it was basically the same. 24 points a game, 7.6 rebounds, 6 assists, 42% shooting. Like, these are this is like Jaylen Brown, a really good number 2's numbers. Let's be honest. This is honestly Jaylen Brown's stat line. And what about this series? Because it was supposed to be Jimmy Butler's time to shine. He made it to the NBA Finals. All the hard work he put in, where they outplayed every other team, where they wanted it more. They won in 5 against Milwaukee, 1 in 6 against the New York Knicks, the up-and-coming New York Knicks, and they beat the Celtics in 7, probably the best team in the NBA. They're up 3-0, and they beat them in 7. They dominated in Game 7. Let's take that momentum, and let's go win the NBA Finals. And here's Jimmy Butler now. 22 points per game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, a little bit better shooting percentage. So this idea that Jimmy Butler is this almighty god in basketball during the playoffs, I honestly don't think is that true. Because what have we seen? We've seen, honestly, role players like Caleb Martin step up and win games for the Heat. We saw Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love, even Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent had 29 points, was the leading scorer in Game 3 against the Celtics. He was the reason why they won that game. Caleb Martin was the reason why they won Game 7. Now you can say, oh, Jimmy Butler had more points, but who is the player on the Heat to maintain leads when the Celtics were slowly creeping up? Caleb Martin would hit a clutch 3. He would hit another shot. Jimmy Butler would just feed off of that, but really it was Caleb Martin who was the real reason why the Heat won. Let's be real. Duncan Robinson. He got his confidence back. Now, he did miss 2 open threes, I believe, late in Game 6. However, he went off in the fourth quarter. He scored 11 points in the fourth quarter in Game 2 against the Nuggets. He has his moments. He definitely, I don't think he adds a full win, but he definitely adds, he might win a quarter for you, and maybe it's the fourth quarter when you need it the most. But this idea that Jimmy Butler is the superstar, I do not believe is that true. And to call him a set-in-stone Hall of Famer, I think that's pushing it a little bit. Because, maybe it's the NBA's a little soft on the Hall of Fame. Maybe that's the case. No Hall of Fame is quite like MLB's Hall of Fame, where you have all-time greats that still haven't made it into the Hall of Fame. The NFL Hall of Fame is a little bit easy to get into. The NBA may be even easier, or at least the same level of easiness. But to call Jimmy Butler, who has not all-time great accolades, who hasn't dominated in the league, that's pushing. Top 100, I believe that article said. Top 100, I may give that to you. Yeah, obvious. I think I would give that to you. He is one of the top 100 players to ever play basketball. But to call him a set-in-stone Hall of Famer and to name him Jimmy Butler and to trademark Jimmy Buckets and to say playoff Jimmy, well, where is that type of player? We haven't seen it. And this is more about Jimmy Butler, though. Because I know Jimmy Butler tries his hardest, and it's this, loser mentality where it's like, okay, everyone is betting against us. We have to step it up. Well, now you have to do something that one team in NBA history has done back in 2016, and that was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Being down 3-1, they came back and beat the Warriors, the 73-win Warriors back in 2016. This is not going to happen. Because you don't have a LeBron James. You don't have a Kyrie Irving to hit a clutch 3 at the end of Game 7. You don't have that. You don't have the fortunate suspension of Draymond Green, at least that version of it on the Nuggets side, to allow you to win at least another game. I think the series is over tonight. There is not, honestly, the Heat we see right now is the Heat that have played throughout the entire regular season. I'm pretty sure the Heat have not hit triple digits at any point in the series. They have been under 100 points each game in this series so far, each of the 4 games. And that makes sense. That isn't out of character for the Heat because they were the lowest average scoring team in the NBA this season. They were the 27th best three-point shooting team this season. What the Heat have been doing throughout the playoffs has been uncharacteristic of who they were. But now, in the NBA Finals, against a Nuggets team that has stormed and has breezed through the playoffs, they swept the Lakers. They took care of Minnesota. And it took a combined 70-point performance from KD and Booker to win 2 in Phoenix. They beat them in 6. They dominated them in every home game. The Heat had. I'm gonna be slightly fair. The Heat did do something no other team has, and that's beat the Nuggets on the road. At home, sorry. They beat them on the road. The Heat on the road beat the Nuggets. That's the only thing the Heat have for them, is that they took one away at home from the Nuggets. That's it. And the fact that it wasn't Jamal Murray or Nikola Jokic that stepped up and won this game, instead it was mainly a wing defender and a bench player, a sixth man, that won this game for the Nuggets, shows you that the Heat are just completely outmatched. I mean, Bam had another great game. 20 points and 11 rebounds. His shooting percentage was nearly 50%. Jimmy Butler didn't have a great game, or at least it was very, very ineffective. You even had your bench players step up with double-digit points, something that we haven't seen in a while, where multiple bench players for you have stepped up. But the guys that have stepped up throughout the rest of the playoffs have no longer been able to step up. Max Strus shot an 0-for. Gabe Vincent, 1 of 6 from the floor, 0 of 4 from 3, had 2 points in the game. Kevin Love hit a couple threes, had 12 points. But the totality of it is, the Nuggets are just a significantly better team with the best player in the NBA right now, Nikola Jokic. That is indisputable. That is, you can't say anyone right now has the same skill set or better than Nikola Jokic. He's the best, I'm pretty sure, on defensive plus minus. I'm pretty sure the best on offensive plus minus. He's a walking triple-double. He's doing things that no one in NBA history in the playoffs has done. So this idea that the Heat have a chance, I'm sorry. I try to defend the Heat, give them at least a little bit of respect. But the way they've been playing, they've been completely outmatched, and it's time to be real. The Nuggets are the better team by a long shot. The Heat have resorted to being back what their seed is, and that's the 8th seed. So I'll talk about my pick, the last topic of the show, but I'm saying right now, the Heat ain't winning. Let's get into our next topic here. So it's funny. I love talking about the Giants when stuff like this comes along. So reportedly, Saquon Barkley is not denying the possibility that he could sit out of the 2023-2024 NFL season because of his little franchise tag that pays him about $10 million, where he's looking, based on his words, not to reset the running back market, but reportedly is asking for the same amount of money per year as Christian McCaffrey. Which in my mind, I think in a lot of people's minds, that's pushing it. Or is it? Now, I think it was smart, at least for the Giants' perspective, to give Daniel Jones his contract, because it allowed you to franchise tag Saquon Barkley. Now, if you were to sign Saquon to a contract and franchise tag Daniel Jones, that wouldn't have honestly been the best option. But maybe it should have been. Because if we take a look at the Giants' season, and I'm going to bring up the numbers here in a second, Saquon was a major part of the Giants' success last year. I know people want to say, oh, Daniel Jones, he had a coming out party. He was amazing. Yeah, he threw 15 touchdowns. Davis Mills, I believe, had the same or more. He had tied touchdown passes with Marcus Mariota, who didn't even finish out the year. Derek Carr, Russell Wilson. Do I want to keep going with how many quarterbacks had more touchdown passes than Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones did not have a great year. He's overpaid. I said I would pay him probably the lowest $30 million. That's probably, I don't know, honestly the highest was $30 million because he's not worth it. I'm sorry. Did he have a pretty good year? Yeah, he did. I will admit that. He had a more efficient year, lower turnovers, more running, and he just honestly looked a little bit better with Brian Daboll as his head coach. However, I saw it from week 1. You could bring up the tape. Against the Titans, they were down, and it was Saquon Barkley who brought the game back. And honestly, throughout the year, it's really been the running game that has been the Giants' major success point. So let's look at it. So, when the Giants have more rushing yards than passing yards in a game, this is their numbers. 25 points a game. On average, between the more rushing yards than passing yards, about 230 rushing yards to 156 passing yards. This past season, the rushing rank was 4th The passing game was ranked 26th. The rushing attack from the Giants was the reason for their success. And there was one game in there. I will say this. I will be honest because I love context. Context is very, very important. There was one game, and I believe I could be wrong. It was the Bears game where Saquon and Daniel Jones had about even in rushing yards. I think Daniel Jones had 107. Saquon might have had 110. The numbers might be wrong and the game is wrong, but there was one game last season where the quarterback and the running back had very similar numbers. But primarily, it was Saquon Barkley who was the reason for the Giants' success. In games where he rushed 80 or more yards, they were 5-2. They averaged about the same amount of turnovers, but they had a great record. They had 9-6-1, if I'm not mistaken. So when Daniel Jones rushed for 80 or more yards, they won more. They had double their wins without that. More than double. So this idea that Saquon may sit out, I would say, is honestly pretty scary for the Giants. Because I think in the mentality that we have in the NFL now, if you have a great offensive line, any running back will at least be around the same amount of production as your prior running back or as another running back on your team. Well, in the case of the Giants, they don't have a great offensive line. They have about an average to slightly below average offensive line. They added, I believe, a pretty good rookie center that should be interesting to look at. But in total, they don't have a great offensive line. They have a really good tackle. I'll give you that. Andrew Thomas is a pretty good tackle. But outside of that, they really don't have anyone phenomenal. So this idea that Matt Breida or anyone else could come in and put the same amount of production as Saquon is just not true. Saquon, I understand why you may not want to sign him to a big deal for a couple reasons. One, running backs generally don't get second contracts, and they generally aren't big contracts. Look at Zeke. He's probably one of the most recent ones to get a huge contract, and his production slipped very quickly. Christian McCaffrey is an outlier because Christian McCaffrey can do everything really, really well. His receiving game amongst running backs is the best without question. His rushing attack, we saw it last year, was insanely effective. Hell, he could even throw the ball, which I believe we saw last year as well. So what we saw from CMC is not Saquon's level. And to say Saquon doesn't want to reset the running back market, yet he wants CMC-type numbers, at least on a contract, that is unrealistic. Reportedly, the Giants offered him before $14 million a year and he turned it down. I would have accepted that because now they're looking at about $11 to $12 million. If I was Saquon, I would have taken the 14 because guess what? The Giants maybe don't feel like they need you. And maybe that's on them, but I think the Giants desperately need him. And that's why I think the Giants should bite. Now, you didn't bite on Daniel Jones's $45 million a year, which that's smart. But you paid him $40 million a year, which is absolutely ridiculous for a quarterback that threw 15 touchdown passes last season. Should he be better this year with more talent? Yeah, he should be. Should he be about mid-20s to maybe low 30s? He should be. Now, this is passing touchdowns because when it's all said and done, a quarterback needs to throw the football. You could say, oh, he had 7 rushing touchdowns. Okay, great for you. Look at Lamar Jackson. Look at Justin Fields. How's their success with running and passing the ball? Not that great. You have about the same amount of playoff wins. But to get to the next echelon of the NFL, to bring your team into, championship level, NFC Conference Championship, AFC Conference Championship, you gotta be able to throw the ball well. So I think personally, this is a non-biased opinion coming from a Patriots fan. You can see to my left, your right here. That's Malcolm Butler and Julian Edelman's catch in Super Bowl 51. Unbiased opinion. It would be very, very wise to not pay Saquon the $16 million a year, but maybe offer him again the $14 or maybe $15 million a year because his impact on and off the field and in the locker room, you're not really going to find that else on the open market. Now, maybe if you let Saquon go, potentially, and then sign a Dalvin Cook, that may be good enough to actually do. However, I think Dalvin Cook is also looking to get paid. So we'll see. You need Saquon. That's all I know. A lot of your production did not come from Daniel Jones dinking and dunking throughout the entire year. It came from Saquon Barkley running the football. All your big explosive plays throughout the year was primarily Saquon Barkley. So you need Saquon a lot more than I think Saquon needs you, because I think if Saquon hits the open, let's just say, just per chance, this won't happen. But if Saquon hits the open market, there's a deadline, I think July 17th, if I'm not mistaken. If he either sits out or if he somehow hits the open market, I guarantee you, a team, I'm not sure what team, I haven't broken down which teams desperately need a running back or have the cap for it, a team will pay him about the $15-16 million a year, or around that, maybe 14. But I'm saying right now, you're not going to get the same amount of production with the running backs you have now. And I'll look up the depth chart right now off the top of my head. I'm not sure. I don't know it. Right now, you have Saquon Barkley, you have Matt Breida, you have Gary Brightwell, and Eric Gray. Are you going to get the same amount of production as what? 1,200, 1,300 yards? Around 10 touchdowns from Matt Breida? No. You're going to get it from Saquon Barkley. You're not going to get it from Matt Breida, Eric Gray, or Gary Brightwell. That's for sure. And Daniel Jones, I think we all saw it. The team looked a lot better when the ball either came quickly out of his hands or when he was handing it off. Not when he's sitting in the pocket trying to, do long decision making and figuring out which guy is open. He's a quick offense, very quick. Give it to Saquon. Give it to Matt Breida. Check downs, short drag routes. Not think in the pocket. Sign Saquon. You don't need to pay him $16 million. Go 14, 14 and a half, 15, around that number, and I think he'll accept it. But we'll see. All right, coming up, DeAndre Hopkins reportedly visiting the Patriots later this week after visiting the Titans. I believe he starts Sunday and even into today. And can the Heat hold on to the series to keep it alive, or will the Nuggets capture their first NBA title in their franchise's history? I break that down right after this.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
All right, welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. I'm not joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey, for today's episode of the Harvey Hour. But let's continue with the show. He'll be back. We're actually doing a little swap. The Harvey Hour Fired Up will be an episode of the Harvey Hour on Wednesday, 6:30. We're taking Friday off. So Wednesday, 6:30, there'll be a Harvey Hour, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube as always. Let's get into our next topic here, because this is very interesting. I talked about it. Can I bring it up quickly? I don't think I can. So about, I want to say, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe even damn near a month ago, I talked about the potential signing of DeAndre Hopkins to the Patriots because he got released by the Cardinals about 2 weeks ago. And when we went to break, Diana Rossini, and Adam Schefter retweeted this, Diana Rossini, a great reporter for ESPN, posted on Twitter that DeAndre Hopkins left the Titans facility late this afternoon after spending hours with the players and staff. The meeting apparently went well, but no deal was struck today per sources. Hopkins is expected to take more visits with teams. That, of course, could always change. And one of the teams he is planning on visiting still is the New England Patriots later this week. And so as of right now, what's being reported is that the only two teams Hopkins has planned publicly are the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. Now, we heard the Chiefs, the Bills, and all these other teams were very interested, including the Ravens, because that was one of the players that Lamar Jackson was apparently interested in. Well, it looks like those teams have pulled out or at least have remained quiet, while the Patriots and Titans have publicly addressed that, yes, they are interested in DeAndre Hopkins. So I'll say this. Between the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots, the two main public teams that are still pursuing them, who would be the best fit for the 31-year-old wide receiver? And I think the honest answer is, based on what DeAndre Hopkins said he was looking for, it is without a question the New England Patriots. And I'm not saying that as a homer, because think about it. When he was on the I Am Athlete podcast, he was, according to DeAndre Hopkins himself, he is looking for three things. One, a QB that loves the game and brings everyone on board with them. Two, a great defense because, quote, defense wins championships, gotta have a great D-line. And three, stable management because he says he's been through 4 GMs throughout his career. Well, that literally screams the New England Patriots. The only one that is very different between the Patriots and the Titans is a QB that loves the game and brings everyone on board with him. Ryan Tannehill does not do that. Do we remember what Ryan Tannehill said about Malik Willis when the Titans drafted Malik Willis? He wouldn't even mentor him because apparently that's not his job as the veteran quarterback, not to mentor your younger quarterback. Your defense was surprisingly good where Malik Willis was throwing, he completed, 5 passes, and you went into overtime against the Chiefs. That is coaching, that is defense. And stable management. Between the Patriots and the Titans, I would take the Patriots management 10 times over the Tennessee Titans management. And also, let's break this down. Mac Jones, even when apparently, according to my dad, he was crying like a baby, showing up Matt Patricia, who deservingly needed to be shown up because the offense was a mess. Reportedly, 10 passing plays were in the playbook at the start of the year. That's ridiculous. The players were all behind Mac Jones because they knew Mac Jones was in the right. They were being screwed over by the Patriots coaches, in particular, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So, the players have always been on board, and we hear players now, Mac's my guy. Mac's such a great leader. He's vocal. Like, we're hearing great stuff coming out of OTAs and training camp about Mac Jones. How much of a leader he is. How much in command of the offense he is. And honestly, the vibes he's giving off now with a proper play caller in Bill O'Brien, it's night and day from last year, where the players didn't know what the hell was going on because the defensive coordinator was trying to run an offense. That's a train, a runaway train heading for a brick wall. It's just prone to be screwed up. A great defense. Belichick notoriously only drafts defense, primarily people with the last name of Jones. Jonathan Jones, Mac Jones, Marcus Jones. You can name a bunch of Joneses. Belichick mainly drafts defense. Hell, there was a wide receiver that he needed, maybe JSN or Jordan Addison. Instead, he drafts Christian Gonzalez, who I think will be a great acquisition because he may be the best quarterback in the draft, and he got him at 17. We'll see how he plays during this NFL season, but it could very well be the steal of the draft. Stable management, they've had the same management for over 20 years. How much more stable can you get? And DeAndre Hopkins and Bill Belichick have always voiced how much they love each other and love the game. And particularly, Belichick loves DeAndre Hopkins' game. So this is a perfect place for DeAndre Hopkins, hands down. And this also makes sense for the Patriots side. Because look at this. The Patriots can't draft wide receivers. Look at these names. Since 2010, these are the Patriots wide receiver draft picks. I brought this up before. In the 3rd round, Taylor Price. Who? 7th round, Jeremy Ebert. Who? Josh Boyce in the 4th round. Who? Aaron Dobson, Jeremy Gallen, David Lucien, Malcolm Mitchell, who had potential. Malcolm Mitchell was probably the only one, and maybe Tyquan Thornton, we'll see. He didn't look great his rookie year. But Malcolm Mitchell in his first year was honestly probably the best receiver in this entire draft class. He had probably the most potential. He retired after year 1. I think it was due to an injury. Braxton Berrios. Now, it says at the bottom, no All-Pros, no Pro Bowls, no 1,000-yard seasons. Braxton Berrios made an All-Pro as a returner, not as a wide receiver. So that's the only maybe slight exception. But as a wide receiver, did not win an All-Pro. N'Keal Harry, he looked terrible on the Patriots. Trey Nixon is he's a practice squad player. And Tyquan Thornton, reports say he could have an up year this year, but last year was pretty bad. He played, 93% of the snaps, something crazy number like that. And Kendrick Bourne played barely anything, and Kendrick Bourne was obviously the better receiver. So we'll see what Tyquan Thornton has to do this year. But as of right now, the Patriots can't draft wide receivers. So it just makes sense because it answers two questions. It answers, honestly, two potential problems. One, it has a problem with the Patriots don't have a true wide receiver one. Devontae Parker gets hurt all the time. It's probably a really good wide receiver two. Kendrick Bourne, he's great. He's probably a bottom wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 material. Tyquan Thornton, rookie, I don't think he's going to step up. You lost Nelson Aguilar, who was probably your wide receiver 1. You really got no one as a true wide receiver 1. DeAndre Hopkins is a clear-cut wide receiver 1. And it also answers the big question that a lot of Patriots fans have been wondering. And honestly, probably Bill Belichick himself has been wondering. Is Mac Jones the guy? Is he a quarterback we could hold on to for 10, 12, 13 years? Or is he just some guy that's, primarily a backup? He's a lower tier guy. Well, he'll probably move around the league if we get off him. Because guess what? You handed him the keys to a broken down kingdom. And he was supposed to be the next Tom Brady? First of all, no one will be the next Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a one of one. He had monster shoes to fill in, and because Patriots fans had 20 years of success, he won 6 titles, tied for the most in NFL history. You expect continued success, at least with arguably the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick. Instead, Bill Belichick has a losing record without Brady. That's just the facts. He's made the playoffs twice without Brady. The last time he made the playoffs, he got curb stomped, and the Bills scored in every possession that they had. That was an NFL record. It wasn't until the next regular season in the second or third quarter that the Bills punted. So they had 5-6 quarters without punting a single time against the Patriots. So, it answers the question. If Mac Jones has a true wide receiver 1 and DeAndre Hopkins is very close to what he was a couple years ago, and he could still be that wide receiver 1, and Mac Jones doesn't perform, okay, he's not the guy. But if he has a year like his rookie year and slightly better, you can say, oh, young quarterback, we could build off of this. Mac Jones could actually play in this league. And there you go. Now you answer the question. Mac Jones is probably your guy, at least for a while. But that question could only be truly answered if you give him someone who has the credibility of a wide receiver 1. Not guys who other teams just said, screw it, we don't need him anymore. We'll give him to you. That's the truth. DeAndre Hopkins gives the Patriots many answers that they've been looking for a couple years. And they fixed a lot of problems the Patriots have had since about 2010. You can't draft any wide receivers. You might as well go sign them. Nelson Aguilar wasn't that great for you. Kendrick Bourne, underused by a long shot. Tyquan Thornton didn't have a great year, but he was a rookie last year, so we'll see what he does in year 2. Devontae Parker, he definitely had his moments, some great moments, but he couldn't stay healthy. So why not get DeAndre Hopkins? Now the question is, what will the Patriots need to do? Because I think the Patriots should do something uncharacteristic of them and spend the money to get DeAndre Hopkins. My guess is he's probably looking for a 1 or 2 year deal, probably a 1 year deal, something near or maybe at or slightly above OBJ, which was 1 year, $15 million? I think it was up to $18 million if I'm not mistaken. So give him that. Give him a 2 year, $30 million deal. That would probably be where I'm going for. Because Mac Jones, here's the problem. This is going to be Mac Jones' true probably year 2. Year 2 last year, just like we do with Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. We kind of throw it out and say, that didn't really happen. A complete mess of a Urban Meyer. That was just a complete mess. With Doug Peterson, there we go. We have some stability. We can build off of this. So my idea would be, this is Mac Jones' true year 2. Last year, didn't even happen. Unless Mac Jones is bad, and then we can say, okay, this is who Mac Jones really is. But I think now, with actually some stability and some common sense on the offense, this is where we could see Mac Jones actually perform, go back to his rookie year, where he was one of the best rookies in NFL history. He had almost 70% completion percentage, had like a higher passer rating than Tom Brady and like Patrick Mahomes and stuff. Crazy numbers for a rookie. Better stats than some stats were higher than Josh Allen and Matt Stafford and Mahomes and Brady. It was ridiculous. So maybe we'll see that Mac Jones now, and I hope we do, because guess what? That Mac Jones is a top 15 player in the NFL. Hell, he was ranked 15th, actually, in his rookie year. As a rookie, he was above average. On a Patriots team that arguably has one of the worst wide receivers. You could definitely argue that the Patriots wide receiver core is one of the worst. But here's the big caveat. The offensive line, I looked up offensive line rankings as of right now. We'll see. Because right now, Trent Brown isn't showing up to practice, and that was reportedly because his flight got canceled due to some weird reason that I completely forget. However, Trent Brown didn't do that well last year. He would do some sort of drop block, and it never worked. I've seen it work for some other offensive linemen, but it never worked for him. No, I think he lost a lot of weight, which I think would be good for him. He's like 6'8", 370, some crazy number like that. But they're putting in, was it Calvin Anderson and Riley Reif, I'm pretty sure? 2 new guys that they picked up. They're your offensive linemen right now. Not great. I looked at the numbers. The Patriots offensive line is between 18th and 24th. I've seen different numbers across 4 or 5 websites that were from this year after the Super Bowl, which was about late May, early June. I tried to find the most recent rankings of offensive lines. And these aren't some whack websites like, jackdoesrankings.com. No, it's like Bleacher Report did one. PFF did one. I know no one likes PFF, but PFF did one. So they were around there. And also what's pretty interesting about this, I will say this. I just want to throw this out here. The Patriots just got off of James Robinson. They signed him earlier this offseason for like a 2-year deal. They waived him today, like about 30, 40 minutes before the show started. Just throw this out here. Just going to send it out here. Zeke or Dalvin Cook to the Patriots? Just go throw it out here as a little tidbit. Argue about it in the comments. We'll see. Just want to throw it out here that maybe Bill Belichick is not done. He's still cooking his food. Still stirring the pot. Maybe getting some new guys out here. Throwing it out there. Just feeding Patriots fans. Yeah, let's go. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Thought I'd throw it out there. All right, let's go with our last topic of today. The show's flying by. We're going to end this probably about 7:20, which is good. Probably a little bit less than that. So, tonight is probably the night for the Miami Heat. Game 5 in Denver after going down 3-1 and getting dismantled pretty much in every loss. I think they've lost double digits in each of their losses. Now the Nuggets are favored by 9 at home. Tonight, 8:30 ABC. And this series is officially over. The Miami Heat, the body language, they don't have it. They don't have the same fiery passion they had against the Bucks, that they had against the Knicks, and they had against the Celtics in the first 3 games and in Game 7. They do not have the same body language. They do not have the same amount of effort. They look done. And this idea that Jimmy Butler could all of a sudden, rejuvenate what he was. Should we bring up the numbers again? Let's bring in the numbers for our audience again. This was the first series, game 1-5. They won in 5 against Milwaukee. Nearly 40 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, almost 60% shooting from the floor. They won in 6 against the Knicks. He had about 25 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 43% from the floor. Now against the Celtics, it's starting to lower. 24 points a game, over 7.5 rebounds per game, 6 assists, 42% from the floor. And in this series, where Jimmy Butler needed to step up because guess what? This is the NBA Finals. He shrunk to a pretty good number 2, if not an average number 2 player, not a number 1. About 22 points a game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, about 44% from the floor. We don't see this Jimmy Butler creature. We don't see this Jimmy Buckets, this playoff Jimmy, this Jimmy Butler. We haven't seen it since the first series. And now all of a sudden, against the Nuggets, who literally their 2 best players had bad games, you expect Jimmy Butler to come out now and win and carry this team to at least continue the series one more game? I'm done. The series is over. I'm sorry, Heat fans. I've tried to defend you, but I'm also a realist here. I'm giving you a 0% chance to win. I'm going to try to find what ESPN gives you percentage-wise, because I think it'll be very, very low. As of right now, by the way, Tyler Hero's playing. He averaged about 20 points. Won't matter. ESPN gives the Heat a 18.1% chance to win this game. I'm giving them a 0% chance to win because their body language, their tempo, their will to come back, it's not there. And Jimmy Butler, I'm going to be honest, has played poorly from what he was. He can't keep it up. And honestly, I'm not going to put all this on Jimmy Butler, but Bam is getting no blame. 0. He's averaged about, a double-double? He's played great in the finals so far. And guess what? We shouldn't be surprised when role players and these undrafted players play like the way they were drafted. Or rather, they weren't even drafted. The Heat are who the Heat were. They just played uncharacteristically through, what is it? Trying to do quick math here. 18 games. They won in 7. 1 in 6. 1 in 5. Through 18 games, they played uncharacteristic basketball where they were hitting threes. Role players were stepping up. Jimmy Butler was having sort of an effective game sometimes. Caleb Martin won them game 7. Gabe Vincent won them game 3 in that Celtics series. We could say that. Kevin Love, and first of all, Kevin Love's outlet passes, probably is the best outlet passer in NBA history. Against the Knicks, I'm putting down the Knicks. The Knicks just did not show up to play. They played dumb basketball. The Bucks, that was Jimmy Butler. That was him at his best. This game, this series, congratulations to the Denver Nuggets. You will win your first NBA title in your franchise's history tonight. I think the Nuggets come out here. They cover the spread easy. I think the Nuggets win 110, and the Heat continue their streak of not scoring triple digits, 110-99. That is my pick. That is it. And the NBA Finals, in my mind, are over. There you go. Those are my picks for the NBA Finals. All right, that'll close it out here for today's episode of The Harvey Hour. I thank you all for tuning in to this solo show. So once again, I'll remind the viewers that on Wednesday, it won't be a Harvey Hour fired up at 3 p.m. It will be a normal Harvey Hour like we do on Friday, except it'll be on Wednesday. I'm taking Friday off. I will most likely not do a show on Friday, but if I do, it will be a solo show. I'm going away. We're taking a break. On Wednesday, normal time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, on a Wednesday, right here. My dad will be joining us in this chair right next to me. We will do the show on Wednesday. We'll probably react depending on what happens tonight. If everything goes right, and it should, the Nuggets win in 5. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss probably some more NFL news. We'll see what happens if DeAndre Hopkins, if he's planning on visiting them throughout the week, maybe tomorrow or on Wednesday. We'll talk about it. Whatever it is, whatever sports news comes up, we'll discuss it. But for now, my name is Nathan Harvey. I thank you all for tuning in to today's episode of The Harvey Hour. Once again, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Normal episode of The Harvey Hour. I will see you then.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.